The email is sitting there again. Parent-teacher conferences. I see it. I feel the little jolt. And immediately, nope. Mark unread. I care about my kids. Of course I do. This isn't about that. This is about scheduling. Because to schedule this, I'd have to check my calendar. Then ask my husband about his. Then look at the teacher's availability. Then notice the overlap doesn't exist. Then decide which clients I'm canceling. Then decide which week of work is going to get weird. Then explain that to someone. And all before I officially schedule the dang thing. You see, it's not one thing. It's 10 things wearing a trench coat. So I tell myself, I'll get to that later. Which, let's be honest, is code for please disappear. 2 weeks go by. Another email. Polite. Friendly. Slightly louder. My kids start asking me about it. Did you sign up yet? My stomach does that quiet drop. Okay, fine. Today is the day. I open the link. All the good spots are gone. Awesome. After school, early evening, the ones that wouldn't wreck everything else, all taken. What's left is awkward. Hella inconvenient. Middle of the day reshuffling. Extra coordination. More explaining required. And there it is. That tight feeling. That familiar heat. I should have just done it when the first email came. I should have handled this earlier. Why do I keep making everything so much harder? If you've ever marked something unread, and not because you didn't care, but because your brain just couldn't hold all of it at once, this do-over is for you.
You're managing what you always do, but your brain feels scattered and you just can't seem to pull it together. The Busy Brain Do-Over from Steady State Co. is your space to recover, reset, and restart, proud of how you show up again. Because you're not the problem, and you're not alone. Here, you'll find real tools and honest conversations to help you feel capable, steady, and like yourself again. Here's your host, Candace David, a fellow busy brain who believes life doesn't have to run perfectly to run well.
All right, friend, let's pause right here because the moment the story ends on isn't really about scheduling. It's about what happens inside your brain when a task quietly explodes into everything. Here's what I want to name. You're not stuck because you're irresponsible. You're not avoiding because you don't care. And you're not frozen because you, quote unquote, should be able to handle this by now. You're frozen because your brain just got handed too much at once. Not one decision, not one step, but 10 invisible steps all at the same time. And your nervous system went, cool, 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 cool. Absolutely not. That shutdown, that blank feeling, that urge to mark it unread and make it disappear, that's not a character flaw. That's your brain protecting itself from overload. Here's the part most of us miss. When your to-do list shows you everything, your brain doesn't experience that as information. It experiences it as a threat. Too many decisions, too many trade-offs, too much future cost. So instead of starting, it pulls the emergency brake, which is why telling yourself to just pick something never works in these moments. Your brain isn't confused, it's overwhelmed. And overwhelmed brains don't need pressure. They need containment. Hi, fellow busy brains. If this episode already feels a little too relatable, Make sure you're following the show so your next do-over is waiting for you when you need it. And if you're already part of this community, thank you. Truly, you are the reason more people are realizing they're not broken, their brains are just a little busy. Hit follow so you don't miss the next do-over we'll do together. I call this week's do-over the Containment do-over, and it starts with telling the truth. When something on your list feels impossible to start, it's usually because it isn't one task. It's many. Scheduling a conference isn't one thing. It's calendars. It's coordination. It's trade-offs, explaining, emotional cost. It's ripple effects. So the first move isn't to start. The first move is to name the stack. You might say, this isn't one task. Or there are a lot of steps hiding in this. Or no wonder this feels heavy. That's containment, because once the volume is named, the shame has somewhere to go. It's not stuck on you anymore. And then, only then, you check your capacity. Not your motivation, not your discipline, your capacity. Some days you might be able to hold 3 or 4 of those pieces at once. Some days you can barely touch one. And some days you don't have room for any, which tells you this needs to be approached differently, not ignored. Containment is letting today's capacity inform how you engage, not whether the thing matters. We're not looking at yesterday's expectations or tomorrow's consequences. You're not opting out. You're orienting honestly. The task still gets done, just not all at once. And not by pretending it's lighter than it really is. When you stop pretending it's just one thing, your nervous system can finally exhale. Now, let me say this clearly. You don't need better discipline. You don't need a more strict system. And you definitely don't need to shame yourself into action. You need permission to stop carrying everything at once. So here's your permission slip for today. You're allowed to name when something is heavier than it looks. You're allowed to set part of it down instead of carrying the whole load. And you're allowed to let relief come before resolution. If your brain freezes when it sees everything all at once, that's information, not a verdict. If you've been listening and thinking, I need this kind of reminder more than once a week, I've got you. Join my newsletter, The Weekly Do-Over. It's my short midweek note that drops right when life starts spinning again. Part pep talk, part permission slip, all real life. You'll get practical encouragement, behind-the-scenes stories, and simple resets that actually fit your busy brain. Go to mybusybrain.com/join because waiting until next week to get grounded again is way too long. All right, my fellow busy brain friends, take a breath, give yourself a little grace, and remember, you can always start again. That's what a do-over really is. Not perfection, just permission. Talk soon.